Howdy, howdy, fellow movie fans, and welcome to the greatest movie franchise tournament, brought to you by those Davies boys, as always, with your hosts, Evan and Dylan Davies. This is a presentation brought to you by the Wisco Movie Watchers Club. It's round 3 here, Dylan. It's, if you were with us on Twitch already, we kind of gave a slight preamble to this. We are adding a category, because we want to make sure that this is still a competition to the very end. So instead of adding the impact score today, we are adding the aggregate score of the franchise from IMDb, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So Dylan has done the math for us, thankfully, because I don't have time to do that. I'm just kidding. I have plenty of time to do everything, but I'm doing every other thing on this channel, so glad to have some help here. So we have 4 matchups in round 3. If you are on Twitch, we may just go straight to the finals, but if you're in recorded form, obviously you're just getting round 3 in this one. So the update of the bracket in our Elite 8. We have Indiana Jones taking on How to Train Your Dragon. Toy Story taking on The Dark Knight. Lord of the Rings taking on Harry Potter, so we have the fantasy civil war there. And then we have the MCU's Phase 3 taking on John Wick, which I think is certainly going to be an interesting battle nonetheless. So we're going to go from there. We're going to start with Indy. Now, last time Indy's total aggregate score, after Dylan and I both scored it, was 39.88. And How to Train Your Dragon barely ahead at 40.04, but that is before the IMDb rankings. So, where do we want to begin on these two? One quick modifier. If it is within 2 points, Dylan and I may intervene to add slight impact scoring if there's an obvious, hey, this obviously means more than this franchise. So if it's a very quick score, we might add that modifier in. But we are trying not to do that. But if it's a really quick score, or if it's a really close score, we might have to pull that in.
Yeah, once we get an impact score as well, I'll do the math. So everything's out of 100.
Yeah.
Instead of out of 70 or 60, which we've been doing.
Yeah.
Indy, in terms of IMDb, is the lowest of all the remaining franchises.
Really? I mean, it's not shocking.
Its average IMDb score is 7.36.
There you go. Right after I said you're frozen like that, you're good. Continue.
It does have the lowest score of any single movie remaining. I'm just making sure of that. Yeah, it does. Crystal Skull is rated a 6.2, and Dial of Destiny is a 6.5. So it does have 2 ones that drop it. And actually, Raiders of the Lost Ark is only an 8.4.
That is wrong.
I agree. It is. I mean, IMDb is a little bit wonky in terms of their ratings at times.
Right. There's a reason we didn't originally include them. This was more so we want to keep the competition going aspect.
If I remember right from when I used to use IMDb all the time, I think 9.2 is the highest of any movie. I think The Godfather and Shawshank Redemption have 9.2s.
If I recall correctly, that is correct.
9.3 Shawshank Redemption, 9.2 The Godfather. Mm-hmm. And then of movies still left in the tournament, The Dark Knight has a 9.1, which is third. The good thing about IMDb, though, is there are a lot of ratings.
Yeah.
The Dark Knight has 9.1, and there's 3.1 million ratings.
Right.
So it is actually a good, accurate look of what people think of it.
Right.
There's a couple on here that are still in the tournament. All the Lord of the Rings are very high. But a lot of the ones that are still in the tournament are kind of in that mid range.
Yeah. Well, let's take it. Indy. What is the total aggregate score for Indy? Because that's it. The one thing I have to keep reminding myself when we do grade Indy is there are three absolute masterpieces of cinema, and they are the standard by which all adventure film and somewhat all action film of that category is judged by.
Yeah,
But then they added two more movies that are average to above average. You know, they weren't. I wouldn't call either masterpiece. Certainly, they're. I said this on the last show. Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. If you don't put Indiana Jones on the label and you just say it's the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull and it's a random adventure movie, you'd be like, "That's a fun, good movie, cool," and you move on.
yeah, most likely. So their average out of 10 is 7.36 for Indiana Jones.
Okay.
So to do the scores, the only score I'm missing right now is your score.
My score on Indy was a 9.
A 9, okay. So let me just write that down. I have another spreadsheet that I made. Um, so that means when you add, this round is going to be out of, what would that be? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It'll be out of 60.
Okay.
Um, and then
We're
once we get
looking at.
impacts,
I did math very, very quickly here.
I gave Indy an 8.
Okay. Which again, really good scoring, and the only reason it's not higher is because it's two movies that bring it down.
Yeah, exactly. If it was only the trilogy, it would definitely be a 9 for
Yeah.
sure.
Well, that's the thing is
Um,
we're looking somewhere in the low 47 range. It's what 47-14, if I am doing math correctly, or 47-24.
47.74.
Huh? 47-74. I thought you said it was
Yeah,
7.36 was the average score.
7.36. The letterbox score out of 10 is 7.08 because the out of 5 it's 3.54. The critic score is out of 10 it's 8.06. The audience is 8.24.
All right, I'm just gonna trust your math. So you said it's 47-74.
Yep.
Okay, it's not the math ain't math on my end, but I probably just missed something. Okay, I mean, very positive score. There's not going to be a single dud score here. There's not one outlier that just made it
Oh
off
yeah.
by math anymore.
I
You know,
would be surprised. I take that back. I think Lord of the Rings probably will break the 90 mark, but I would be surprised if any of them get a high 80s, 90, because it is such a big gap to get that mark once it goes out of 100.
yeah, the
Just
only
because each point, each point really equals about like almost 5%.
yeah,
So,
it is a quite an interesting train here. So 47-74, a nice little palindrome number here for Indiana Jones. Again, it all comes down to those two movies. Because just humor me
yeah.
quick. What is the average of just the trilogy?
Let's
Because
see.
Raiders has to be high eights, I would assume. I'm assuming Temple of Doom is mid eights or
No.
low eights.
So it's funny because um, the letterboxed is 4.2, 4.1, 3.7. But then when you look at IMDb, it's 8.4, 7.5, 8.2.
So it
So it's like
more
they've,
reflects what generally is accepted for those.
yeah, because we were surprised that Temple of Doom has a higher rating than Last Crusade on Letterboxd. Um, out of the just the trilogy alone is an 8.0.
So yeah, it's
Oh,
an upgrade.
there's Loop.
Amazon driver, other dog. What do we got here today?
It doesn't look like anything.
Nice. Also, Quick question. Do you just have to leave that slit open for him to look and he just loses it no matter what if it's not open? Or do you just do it because you're like, he's always going to do it, so I'm just going to leave it open?
Uh, I'll flip it. Hey, come here,
God, I love these breaks. They're
come
almost,
here, get up here.
yeah, make your appearance. Make your cameo, Lupin.
What
Such a big guy.
you, what you barking at, sir?
Yeah. What are you barking at, sir?
Um. So yeah, when you add in the last two, it drops it almost a full point.
Yeah.
Stupid.
It's not coming through, so it's not that big a deal. But yeah, it's it's wild how much those two films really take it down. But this is the one problem with quote math that we have here is when it's limited numbers, that number really fluctuates based on one entry. Where ironically, Bond was saved because of how many entries it had. It kind of just went everything is straightforward. Casino Royale and Skyfall couldn't take it up that high, but you know,
Well,
View
the
to a
problem is,
Kill and License to Kill and everything else couldn't take it down that much.
yeah, the problem is if you don't do it by numbers, then it's just pure opinion,
Yeah,
and everyone's gonna have different opinion. Like, there's no way in hell John Wick would get to the full eight.
no,
So, like, at least in my mind, that's why I do think the numbers are a good thing to add in there, because you at least they are people's ratings of the movie.
right,
You get general sentiment
yes.
overall.
All right, let's take it to How to Train Your Dragon, who last time had a score. I find my How to Train Your Dragon score 40.04. So it's a mighty close battle here. That's one of the reasons I quickly got it in before we started. This is a close enough game that we might have to kind of weigh the scales a little bit.
Yeah. So, what was your score for How to Train Your
How to Train
Dragon?
Your Dragon, I had a 7, and it looks like you also had a 7 here, which got us to the
I
40.04 mark.
I thought about my scores again, and I think I did adjust some of them.
Okay.
I changed mine to a 6.75,
Okay, interesting.
just because we've said it, they just don't stick with you at all.
No.
Besides the first one. Um, yeah. So the IMDb, when you add that in there, the average is 7.76.
Okay.
And it does go in or it does go in order where each one drops a little bit every single time. It goes 8.1, then 7.8, and then 7.4, which makes sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm looking back at that franchise as best I possibly can, I would probably argue that's the case. A little bit of the luster leaves every time you put a new entry
Yeah.
in because it's not a Toy Story in which every one of them had a very unique story
And
to
it's also
them.
it's not like Toy Story where each character actually has depth to them. Like
Right. Like the first one
they
they add, it's the girlfriend and it's this and it's that. The second one is the mom, the third one is the family together and the dragons getting to be family. And that's great. And again, it's not shitting on that trilogy. It's a high quality trilogy to the point where it went from a play-in game to it's in the Elite 8. And it
Mhm.
truly has a chance to knock off Indiana Jones, which is one of both of ours collectively one of our top 3 franchises of all time in just terms of how much we love it. So it's we're trying to be as fair as possible here, but yeah, there's not a lot of unique differences from each film. It's just let's add another family member, let's get some more dragons, let's impose a threat. Cool.
Mhm.
Toy Story very much is more of a really great steak that is hidden well by sizzle, but it's incredibly meaty steak that tastes great because each one goes through a different character study really, really well.
Yeah. And they're all fun. I don't think they overstay their welcome, which is also nice.
Yeah.
It's kind of a there's usually at least one dud in every franchise.
Yeah.
Now we're finally getting to the point where most of them don't now, except I would say Indiana Jones does. But
For viewing
um,
experience, I think our next. Oh no, I'm sorry, I got knocked out. I think we might have another dud, but that's not like a super dud or anything. But
Phase 3 does have one
that's what
for
I was
me.
looking at. Phase three, I think, has
Actually, a
one.
couple, but so out of the 70 now that we're doing, no 60, sorry.
I was gonna say, damn, everything's getting low scores now.
Out of 60, How to Train Your Dragon is a 47.55.
Holy shit, that is a close battle here. Because the
Yeah, and
IMDb aggregate score was which?
it was 7.76.
I mean, that's it. I'm glad. So here's where, in full transparency, we can barely recall the movies of How to Train Your Dragon, and it's not necessarily just a well, I don't really like How to Train Your Dragon. We both said all three movies are really good. We enjoy the movie. They just don't have any staying power whatsoever.
I couldn't tell you a single thing about that third one.
I
I,
know
I saw it when it first came out.
Toothless gets a girlfriend that becomes like his, for lack of a better word, dragon bride, and they have little dragon babies together. They have to ride off into the sunset
Uh,
together or whatever. Again, I know that movie more from the experience I had going to the theater with the kids than I did
yeah,
the actual film. But in all transparency here, this was the one I was just like, we might have to weigh the scales on. Because even with two movies that are average or above average, but not stellar, the first three Indiana Jones films are truly a standard by which film is judged by, of an entire genre. Animation in general is not judged by How to Train Your Dragon.
definitely not.
I view How to Train Your Dragon a lot like, I don't know how you view this, but in the NBA, there's those like creme de la creme players that are like obviously the peak of the sport. And then there's that tier two. They're really good, they're all stars, but they don't make the engine of the team move the same way those like top five guys go. Like I remember in our era of growing up, it was kind of like LeBron, Kobe, D Wade, and maybe Carmelo Anthony. Those were the like the guys. And then
Yeah,
tier two down was like the Chris Bosches of the world, Chris Paul at that time, where they were phenomenal players and they were great, but they did not have the same steam to make their teams work the way. I view the same thing for even in animation. I don't know how high I would stack How to Train Your Dragon in comparison to other animated films.
yeah, it wouldn't be very high for me. Um, I don't know. I don't know how you want to do this because do I like Indiana Jones more? Yeah, a lot more. But there are two movies that I think are worse than any of the.
I think Indy takes it. I'm comfortable with the math because I think the math, ironically enough, somehow did actually take into account the other two, because the other two are not Star Wars level bad in terms of judgment. Where, like Revenge of the Sith had a 4.0 or whatever on Letterboxd, and both of us were like, come the fuck on. Like, IMDb
Yeah,
seemed to have a very fair score on both Kingdom of the Crystal Skull and Dial of Destiny. And
they are fair.
so I don't feel like we really have to intervene in
What
this.
was Indy's score again?
Indy's score was a 47.74, and How to Train Your Dragon was a 47.55.
Okay,
So Indy does
yeah, that's
take it, and that's where I'm just, do we need to intervene? I don't know if we do anymore, because I think the more impactful franchise won out without us having to give away more impact score or other
yeah.
things of that
I think
nature.
that fits.
All right, so Indy is taking on this first battle, and it was a close one. So it's going to be, and regardless, I love Indy. math wise, it's going to have a hard time against the winner of this next battle. This is probably the best math battle we have left, if I'm seeing correctly. So, in our second matchup, we have Toy Story taking on The Dark Knight. Previous scoring, Toy Story is coming in with a 42-8-3. Absolutely decimated Star Wars. One of the biggest disparities in matchups. I'm looking at, yeah, so, I mean, we're looking at a 7 point difference. The only thing that was done more than that was a slightly higher 7 point difference between Lord of the Rings and Mission Impossible. But that was a really great versus great scenario. So Toy
What
Story
was
42
your
3
score for Toy Story and
8.
Dark Knight?
So I had an 8 on Toy Story and I had a 9.5 on The Dark Knight.
Okay.
Whereas The Dark Knight is coming in technically as the favorite, 43-45. It does have, about a little bit more than a half a point on Toy Story. But again, we're going to have to see where the math takes us on this one. Because as much as I love The Dark Knight, and I do think that trilogy defines a generation of film, does it impact its action and comic book industry the same way that Toy Story does? And that's where we might have to weigh it differently if the math is close enough that we have to have a debate.
So, when you add IMDb, the Dark Knight, the average for the Dark Knight trilogy is 8.57.
Okay.
Um, it, it's weird because everyone always talks about Dark Knight Rises as the worst of the franchise.
I think it's
But
probably better on IMDb than it is Batman Begins, probably.
it's 8.2, 9.1, 8.4.
Right.
And in terms of the only one that's actually in the favor of Batman Begins is the Rotten Tomatoes. It's very close, but it is
I
slightly in favor of Batman Begins.
so if I'm trying to explain that difference, I think what it is for many people, I would probably be in this camp as well, is although Batman Begins probably should be argued a better film than The Dark Knight Rises, Batman Begins has the biggest disparity of feel from the other two. Where Dark Knight and Dark Knight Rises truly feel like they're true sequels to each other. They're paired together. All the ramifications come from that, which is ironic because it's not inherently true. But Batman Begins is the one that looks the most different, feels the most different from the other ones. So I think that
Yeah,
might just be it, is where Dark Knight finally hit the right flavor for everyone, and Dark Knight Rises keeps the most of that. And is a pretty the other thing is I think deep down there's a lot of themes in The Dark Knight Rises that you outwardly see that people really connect with. Especially this is coming right after the financial crisis, and so much of so much of what was happening at that time actually is shown in The Dark Knight Rises to allow people to, I don't know if they sympathize with Bane, but they kind of get some of the tools that the League of Shadows, so to speak, is using. Where Batman Begins is very much a straightforward character study of one man.
yeah. It also has the task of setting up what becomes a trilogy,
Right.
which that's the first. That's always the thing with the first of any series of movies is they have the hardest job
Yeah.
to set the tone, to set up the world, to set up the characters. That's a tough thing to do, and that's why I always kind of forgive first movies a little bit more than I do sequels.
I was just about to say, I think there's a double edged sword there in a good way, though. Where, yes, you are correct. The most heavy lifting comes from the first one. But I think audiences are most forgiving because you start with a blank canvas for the most part. Even with because Batman Begins is 8 years removed from Batman and Robin. You give people enough time to get the bad taste out of their mouth, so they do kind of have a clean canvas to go, oh, they're doing Batman again. And then even by the first trailer of Batman Begins, people can go, oh, this is not Joel Schumacher's
Is
Batman. This ain't your daddy's Batman kind of thing.
is that the biggest jump between tones in terms of reboot? It's got to be, right?
It's up there. The only reason I say I can't say definitively is has another character. Ooh, I don't know. Craig's Bond at first was a real different shift from the
That's
end
true.
of Pierce Brosnan's Bond. But I don't know if I can definitively say that. I would argue it's certainly up there just because the one thing I have an issue with of trying to determine it is has any character outside of James Bond been rebooted that many times of note? Like, all due respect, I'm truly not just trying to shit on another superhero. We've seen 3 Spider-Mans. How different is each from each other in comparison to Batman? Like, pop culture first gets Batman in 1940s serials, and it's not that huge of an impact. Then they get the comedy Adam West Batman in the 60s. Then you go super dark by 80 standards with Batman and Batman Returns. Then you do a pseudo reboot within the same franchise with the
Hmm.
more light bright of Joel Schumacher. Then you get the really gritty natural tone of of Christopher Nolan. And then even after that, you get 2 more Batman uh, actors with Affleck and Zack Snyder stuff. Then you get to Robert Pattinson. Plus, they've done
Yeah,
a billion animated movies. They did the whole animated series and everything else that came off of that. This super popular video game franchise, uh, like Lego Batman. They've done so many different iterations of that character.
yeah,
So it's difficult to state. In American film, I would probably argue I'd have to go back and look at it. No character has been rebooted more or used more in different ways than Batman, which is another reason why I always argue Batman's the greatest character of all time, because there's so much you can do with that character in comparison to other. He can work in any tone because it's just the nature of the character is so analogous that it works so well.
yeah. Um, okay, so jumping over to Toy Story now. Oh, by the way, I'm just making sure. Oh, no, okay. Dark Knight has the second highest IMDb average, not the highest.
I'm assuming
But
that's going to be our next battle.
um, so Toy Story, when you throw in IMDb, it is above an 8. It's an 8.03
Okay.
average. The first one's an 8.3, second was a 7.9, third is 8.3, and fourth is 7.6. It's a lot like Indiana Jones, honestly, where it's you throw in a movie that's not necessary and it lowers the whole thing. It is just the way it goes usually.
I just,
Even though technically speaking,
if anything, it might
uh,
be a good thing we're doing this tournament this year and not next year, because
yeah,
we're going to
that's
have
true.
another movie to add for Toy Story next year. And to the point where it's crazy. I said this in the review for the movie when I reviewed Hoppers, the new Disney Pixar movie, which enjoyable movie, and it is making a shit ton of money, which I expect for a Disney movie. But that one was one
Mm,
where I was like, it kind of came out of
it's a
nowhere.
good thing
I
because
was right in
Pixar
it.
has been struggling lately. Then,
I think what's interesting to me, they just finally had a message that really struck me. It's very environmentally sound. They're really trying to get
oh,
some environmental
nice.
tones. It's not the only theme there. There's certainly other themes there, but that's the most hit yourself over the head with. We should care about the environment tone here. The was the we went with our family friends and their kids who are they're our niece and nephews, pretty much what we call each other. We're Uncle Evan and Aunt Abby to them. So we took them to the early screening, and the Toy Story 5 trailer popped up, and Kristen turned to me. She's like, "Isn't it sad?" She just looked at me because she knew I would be the one to care more. She's just like, "Isn't it so sad that now we have to have a Toy Story 5 where the iPad is a villain? because it's true to life that half the time kids don't want to play with toys; they just want an iPad now. I was like, yeah, it's pretty sad.
Yeah, I didn't know a single thing about Toy Story 5. That's one where will avoid it because I am actually looking forward to the movie. Um, yeah, that is kind of sad, kind of dystopia in a way,
I mean,
but
it's accurate to life right now.
exactly.
It is wild to see how when we do stuff in our own childcare facility, we don't use screens unless it's all day programming, and we only give it to them at the end of the day. And half the reason is the practical reason of then the kids will be super chill when we all have to start cleaning the building. So it's just like,
Mhm.
okay, fine. You went outside for like 6 hours today and you did a bunch of stuff. You can go on your iPad or your Switch now. You know, like the kids lose their shit because I did it. I've done it once and I'm going to do it again where I brought my Switch in for a bunch of kids to play. And I made this little makeshift cave out of mats and we all play it. And we got to play Smash Bros. On my projector. And the kids lost their shit because they're like, oh my God, we could do screens together. I was like, yeah, I got you. Like, but this is a rarity. This is a once every blue moon kind of thing. This isn't a Mr. Evans going to bring in a Switch for you every day kind of
Yeah.
scenario.
Did I tell you the Dark Knight final score?
What is the Dark Knight final score? It's
It
looking like it's
is
barely 52.
52.27.
Perfect. So 52.27. That's a high mark here for the Dark Knight.
Yeah, I mean, considering it's up to 60, that's really high.
It's a really high score here. Now Toy Story, it's
Um,
4283 plus 803. So right away, it might not even hit the mark for argument.
I'm
It's
just
like damn close, but
Yeah, I'm just adding these up real quick here. It is a 51.12.
how did you get there from that?
It's most likely from me changing my score.
Okay, that's the one
Because I
thing I
gave,
can't equate for because I have your Toy Story score at 825.
okay, yeah, I did put 8.5.
That equates for the extra five,
But
that extra point
yeah, this
five.
is,
Because it's like it's
yeah,
what?
yesterday I decided I'm just going to lock in my scores uh, definitively.
Yeah, from
So
now
yeah,
on, I'm not trying to change it unless I absolutely feel the need to do so.
yeah. I mean, 8.25 honestly probably is closer to what it should be. But the way I was thinking about it yesterday, I felt 8.5.
Well, again, Toy Story is just such an odd franchise sometimes for me to
Well, the thing
judge.
is, like, I love the first three. I think they're near perfect in terms of a trilogy. And I really like the fourth one. It just wasn't necessary. That's the one thing about it.
Yeah.
Um, I do think it's a good movie, though. So, I mean, it is a close match. Dark Knight takes it. I think that probably is fair.
Do you feel we need to intervene on this one? It's within the 2 point range. Is there something that you're
Um,
saying you want to put your thumb on the scale for a little bit, or you want to fight
I
otherwise for?
I think I would give Toy Story an overall bigger impact score, but I don't think it's necessary to intervene with the math here
I would agree. I mean,
because
Dark Knight changed your favorite thing, one of your favorite things about movies completely.
what do you mean?
Yeah, its omission in the Oscars changed the Oscars forever.
Oh, yes, it did. Um, and that's the thing is like Dark Knight wouldn't have it doesn't have a low impact score either.
No,
So like they would both be very high impact scores. So I don't see a need to change anything
right.
about
I
it.
mean, I see two outliers in terms of impact score being low, and we've already gotten past one of them. So we're all good on that front. Now let's take it. Let's go fantasy Civil War here. Lord of the Rings taking on Harry Potter. Let's see how
What
many
was
times Dylan tries to change his score for Harry Potter, try to get Harry Potter to win.
Oh, I solidified it into a 10.
Oh, you went back to a 10 instead of the 9.5.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Because I was like, you know what? This is purely my opinion, so I'm just gonna be true to myself. What was your Lord of the Rings and what was your Harry Potter?
So my Lord of the Rings score was a 9.5, and my Harry Potter was an 8.
8. Okay. Let me just write that down quick.
I mean,
Okay, Lord of the Rings. Highest IMDb average.
yep.
Not surprising at all. Um,
Coming into this, and to just to preview a little bit, Lord of the Rings with no change scores is a 45.92 before IMDb. It is by far the highest score. There is not even
I
another franchise within 2 points of it.
Yeah, my personal score for Lord of the Rings is a 9,
Yep, I have a nine
so it's
five.
not far
I
off
mean,
of.
I'm a 9.5. You're a 9. Letterbox is a 4.43. The aggregate
Yep.
even gets it into the A range. It's the only franchise that, by math so far, is hitting an A
Yeah.
every single
It.
scoring measure.
I should also point out, in terms of scores, Letterbox is the least forgiving.
Yeah,
That's simply because one, it's out of 5, and two, you can only round to the nearest half point. So you can't give like a 3.25 on a movie. It has to be 3.5 or a 3.
I kind of
It's
like that because it forces you to make a choice.
Yeah, they just like won't allow it. That's their scoring system. So like even though it's a 4.43 average out of 5 for Lord of the Rings, it still is only an 8.86 out of 10, which, yeah, I mean, that's lower than what you would think it would be
Right.
if you were doing it all out of 10.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, Fellowship of the Ring on IMDb is an 8.9, Two Towers 8.8, and Return of the King is a 9.
Pretty consistent performer right there.
Yeah, if I still have IMDb up, it goes Return of the King is the sixth highest, tied with Schindler's List. Um, Fellowship of the Ring is eighth, and Two Towers is 11th, which is tied with a bunch of stuff for 8.8. Yeah, so IMDb average is 8.9,
Wow.
highest of the tournament.
I it's not shocking whatsoever.
No, not at all. I'm just gonna add all these together quick.
You're looking at a juggernaut. You're looking at the more, not to spoil, the more we do this, the more I just kind of go, huh, my opinion on this franchise might be very right.
Yeah, so out of 60, Lord of the Rings is a 54.83.
It's a pretty damn good score there. Pretty damn good score.
Yes, the funny thing is, I think it has one of the lower impact scores on this list to me.
Um,
We'll see in the next round because it's going to win over Harry Potter, even though
of
I don't
I will
want
say,
it to.
not ranking them, just broad view. I think it argues one of the two middle spots of 4 or 5. I think there are three franchises that very obviously have a higher impact score in terms of broader pop culture. Maybe not, because when we think impact score, I'm also going to be taking into account how did it change movies, what did they actually bring to this, and I think there's a lot of underlying things that will aid their impact score more than people believe they will. But
Mhm.
I still don't think broader pop culture that there are three franchises in the Elite Eight that are obviously higher, and there are two more that could very well argue similarly, and then there's two that I think are close. So it's in one of those
Yeah.
middles for me.
Jumping over to Harry Potter, IMDb average is 7.72.
Okay.
And again, to illustrate the point of it being one of the most consistent franchises, I'll just go in order: 7.7, 7.5, 7.9, 7.7, 7.5, 7.6, 7.7, 8.1. So between 8 movies, it only fluctuates zero point 0.6.
Pretty damn good there. I should put
Yeah,
you
I
on
mean,
licorice.
considering like most of them, when they do have like a lower number, they're usually like a full point off.
Yeah.
It is incredibly consistent.
Again, Harry Potter and Mission Impossible. They show you just be consistent and you're gonna do well. Just be consistent in what you are.
Yeah. So out of 60, Harry Potter was a 49.96.
Wow.
Just barely couldn't crack that 50.
Couldn't connect that 50 mark. Well, I mean, it unfortunately math dictates it's no longer in the tournament. It has been eliminated.
And that's not surprising. I'm glad it got this far.
I mean, you didn't even need to put your thumb on the scale to get to that, but Back to the Future probably would have been a little bit closer if we had a little bit more or a little less bias there, but I still think Back to the Future would have lost
It would have.
as we stated. So I think it had a very fair run. Again,
Yeah. The
it's
problem
one
with
of
Back to the
those.
Future was the scores were actually very far off of what I thought they were going to be.
I did too.
So like the numbers weren't in the favor of Back to the Future. Okay, so what do we got next? Marvel
It's
Phase
Phase 3 versus
3.
John Wick is the last one of
Dominic.
round 3.
What were your scores?
Well, Phase 3, if I'm looking correctly, I had an 8 on Phase 3, and you had a
Okay.
6-5. Coming in, the last scores were this is, again, based solely on scores from last turn. Phase 3 is coming in at 38-7-3. John Wick's coming in at a 38-8-9. So this is a close battle here.
I'm sorry, I missed. What was your score for John Wick?
7-7-5.
775. I think I'm gonna Phase 3.
Because you have 6-5 on Phase 3 and you had a 6 on John Wick.
Yeah, I'm just gonna look through the Phase 3 movies real quick just to make sure I don't want to change any of it.
I mean, Phase 3 is.
See, the thing about Phase 3 is it does have both Avengers Infinity War and Endgame, which I think are good movies.
Yeah.
And really enjoyable. I really like Homecoming and Far From Home. But there is a lot of meh for me.
Yeah. There's one movie I hate. There's a bunch that I would say are middle of the road. And then there's a bunch of
Yeah,
stellar stuff.
I'll stick with my 6.5 for Phase 3.
I mean, I assumed you would. Again, the other thing is you don't give as much forgiveness to Black Panther that I do. We both agree that it's two great acts and then a third one that falls apart.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is, IMDb, that
Oh,
is
I'm assuming it's
the.
high on IMDb.
No, it's the. Let me make sure here. It's tied for the fourth lowest of the Phase 3 movies.
That's not
It goes.
shocking to me though.
Yes, Cap 3 gets 7.8, Doctor Strange 7.5, Guardians 2 7.6, Homecoming 7.4. You won't like this. Thor 3 7.9.
Everyone loves Ragnarok. I know I am an outlier on that film. I know
Um,
I am.
Black Panther 7.3. Both Avengers get 8.4, which is the highest. Ant-Man 2 is a 7. Captain Marvel is the lowest at 6.7. And then Far From Home is 7.3.
I don't see any incredibly bad scores. If anything, I think I'm a little more forgiving on Captain Marvel. But
The one that is the least consistent is Ant-Man 2. Because IMDb is a 7, but then on Letterboxd it's a 2.8. And then Rotten Tomatoes it's 87.79.
I think people sleep on Ant-Man and the Wasp a lot for no reason.
Well,
I
I
think
just
it's
think it's
simply But the funny part is this: is they make a point of putting in the plot to Ant-Man so many very, very actually important things to the plot of the future Avengers films
true.
because they know Ant-Man is by far the most skippable of all the heroes of the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yeah. I I mean, I don't disagree with it being that inconsistent. I can see why some people like it and why some people don't.
Yeah.
For me, it's literally about as average as a Marvel movie can get. Like it's
I'm
hard to
really
say.
excited when we one day do both of us do simultaneous stack rankings of the MCU. I really want
uh,
to see what that is for you.
a tier list of all the Marvel movies.
Yeah.
You're gonna see a lot in the C tier. I'm guaranteeing it for me.
Well, I want to see you stack one to how many we're at now. Because you've seen all of them, if I recall correctly, outside of some of the
Um,
modern ones.
not I have not seen all the Phase Four. I have not seen.
I mean, what you
Oh
saw
wait, no,
Multiverse of Madness?
I have seen all of the Phase Four.
It's the Phase 5 stuff that you've maybe missed some, right?
Yeah. I haven't seen the third Ant-Man movie. I haven't
Possibly
seen
one of the
any of the.
worst that they've ever
I haven't
done.
seen any of the shows. I don't even know the other Phase Five movies, honestly.
I mean, Fantastic Four is in there. Some other stuff's in there.
I saw that. It was fine.
Yep.
C tier again. That's a movie. That's a list we could do on the fly, honestly. Because like, I do. Definitely don't care as much about it as you do.
Well, we'll table that for another video essay special, and it won't be nearly as in depth as the Best Picture tier list, which, by the way, still doing well. So,
Okay, good. I like that.
all right. So,
IMDb
what is the IMDb
average
score of Phase 3?
is 7.57.
That's about right, I would say.
It is the third lowest of the remaining franchises, and it's taking on the second lowest, which is John Wick. John Wick. Let me flip here to where it is. John Wick IMDb average is 7.48.
Huh.
It's incredibly consistent. First one 7.5, second 7.4, third 7.4, and the fourth is 7.6. So very
People really
consistent.
love Parabellum, and I don't get it.
That's the fourth one?
Oh wait, no, it's Parabellum. No, Parabellum's the third one. People really love that fourth one for some reason. I don't get it.
Neither,
I
because it's
love it.
way too long.
I love it because I like John Wick, but I don't love it in terms of the franchise. It's where to me it gets more about moments than it does about the full spectrum of the movie.
You take any of these franchises in the whole tournament, not just the ones that are remaining, and you make me like say, does any movie in this franchise deserve a 3 hour movie? John Wick is definitely one where I'm saying no.
I agree. I agree.
Like it'd probably be towards the bottom of the ones I'd say deserve a 3 hour movie. But those movies are not made to be that long.
Question for you: would you prefer one 3 hour movie, or they break it up into two 2 hour movies?
That really depends on the story, but most likely I'd say two-hour movies.
Yeah, because I mean, I don't think the end of John Wick deserved almost 3 hours. But I will
Yeah,
say, if you're getting that close, anyways, add a little bit more intrigue and just make it two parts and just be like chapter four, like literally you can go John Wick the end part 1, John Wick the end part 2.
yeah. I don't know. That's I've said it before. I do not like the impact that John Wick has on movies.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never been a huge action movie person, anyways, so that is kind of going against it in that way. Um, to illustrate that point, I just watched Sense and Sensibility. About the farthest thing from an action movie you can have, and I like that more than I like any of the John Wick.
You also just don't like John Wick in general, so
I mean, I like the first one, and then the rest, I whatever. I could go my whole life without watching.
sure. So
So,
what are our final scores here?
yep. So John Wick is a 46.87. And let me throw in phase three here.
It's another close one. It's a super
Three.
close one. I mean,
And
going in, these two were separated by
46.3.
it's a half point. John Wick takes it just by straight math. Is this where you want to add a little flavor?
I don't feel the need to argue in phase three's behalf, honestly.
I
Like
like
these
how
are of the ones
I
remaining.
like how for phase three, you're like, yeah, I like it better than John Wick, but I don't like it enough to try to fight to beat it.
No, like in terms of all the remaining franchises, these are the two I care the least about. And
Yeah,
that includes How to Train Your Dragon.
that's wild. That's wild to me, but so I'm torn. I like sticking with the math because we've stuck with the math every time. And part of me does say, by the way we've been judging this, John Wick might be better. But again, for phase three, it's not the same level of quality, but we get closer to that indie model where there's two movies that are just absolutely stellar or very impactful, and they are the tandem are two generationally defining films.
Sure.
Where I mean, as much as I love John Wick, it's not like John Wick is lighting up the box office the same way that the MCU
Can I point
does.
out something though about phase three?
Yeah,
Well, I've said it before. It really, really bugs me that it does not end with Endgame.
yeah,
Like it just one doesn't make sense. Two is just like the most illogical choice of all time. It's literally called Endgame. Why would that not be the end of your phase, whatever they call them?
yeah.
Like it just really bugs me that it does not end with that.
It is funny because now from ever on, because I've certainly done this with some horror franchises and stuff when I've done research on them, and they have a name that suggests it's the end,
Oh yeah, I mean
and then they keep doing more movies afterwards.
yeah.
And in the franchise, that might actually make sense. I don't know because I haven't watched some of them. I'm really interested to see
Oh,
how much,
they never make sense.
but I'm really interested to see how well that goes 10, 15 years, 20 years down the line when more and more audiences will see it as the whole Marvel Cinematic Universe. They won't see it as they didn't live the phases. So to them, it doesn't matter. They just saw,
Yeah.
and
But to that
eventually,
point,
there's going to be a lot of people that only watch Avengers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, blah, 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 however long they go. They're not going to go
yeah.
do, well, I got to watch in phase one. Then I got to watch phase two. Then I got to watch
If
phase
if
three. They're not going to do
if
that.
you if you had quizzed me on uh, naming the movies to the phases, the only one I would be able to tell you is that phase one ends with Avengers. That's the only one I would be able to get. Because I definitely would have guessed Endgame ends phase three.
Yeah.
Definitely wouldn't I wouldn't be able to tell you a single thing about phase two in terms of
Which
like
is
what the
hilarious because
order and all that.
I think two of your favorites of the whole MCU actually do come from phase two.
Yeah, it does. Um, yeah, it's I don't know. Like I said, I don't feel the need to argue on behalf of Phase Three or any of the Marvel stuff.
All right. Well, John Wick will take it.
I do think it's curious that Phase Three is the one that got the furthest.
I don't. I don't at all. That was my guess going in because
It does have the benefit of having the most movies as well, because it goes Phase One 6 movies, Phase Two 6 movies, Phase Three is 11, and then Phase Four is 7.
the thing is phase three is most like a baseball pitcher or just a baseball player in general when they're up to bat. Marvel's very streaky. And this is where they were hot. And they also, one thing I will give them as much as the Marvelification of has been a problem where all the movies kind of blend together because they're all kind of similar. The phase 2 into phase 3 is where they were at least trying to give you their attempts at genre film. Now, I'm not saying they're super successful in that, but Doctor Strange, they dipped their toe a little bit into the psychological realm, a little bit in the horror realm. Captain America, very much like we're making these political 70s thriller kind of movies. You know, they were trying to do something different. The Spider-Man's very much became teenage coming of age movies. They weren't
Mhm.
just Spider-Man, right? I'm not saying they were super successful as genre films. I don't think any of them are great genre films in terms of those. But they were at least trying to give you some flavor to be different. Because truly, phase 1 is just a bunch of action movies that star comic book heroes. They are all
Yes.
the exact same.
Yeah. I mean, there's not that much variation in terms of Marvel, so I don't know. I'm perfectly fine with it getting this far and dropping out. And I'd be perfectly fine if John Wick did. So, but like, it's
I
just
like
it
how
is what
very
it
much
is.
right now it's just the math is the math. I,
Yep.
so we have our final four now. We
All right.
have Indiana Jones taking on the Dark Knight. Well, I should say this. And then we have Lord of the Rings taking on John Wick as John Wick survives 46.87 to 46.3. We've had some close battles in this one. IMDb
Mhm.
rankings were a very good way to do this.
Yeah, and then once we add impact score, then it will be out of 100. I'll weigh them each category, so it's out of 100
Now, we
instead
should
of
hammer this out with an audience so at least we can be consistent. In the final, all the math will already be done. So, do we
yes.
start debating more or do we start doing.
I think we can analyze each movie depending on who is in there.
Because I'm getting a sense it might be trilogy versus trilogy. I can't guarantee that, but I'm getting the sense it could be that. So,
We'll see.
we will see how it goes. But we are down to the final four. Join us next time because we are not only going to do the final four, we are also going to be doing the final, and I'm going to be doing recaps of all of them with all the scores, everything, so you can kind of see how we got to this point. So that means I also have to go listen to every single one again because naturally, you and I both were inconsistent on where and how we wrote these scores down and kept these scores. But
100%. I bet mine fluctuated the most.
yeah, I know yours did. I tried well. I shouldn't say that. Play-ins to round one, there might be some heavy fluctuation for me, where I kind of was like, all right, let's play-ins, let's just get it in, and then all of a sudden I was like, we're not that good. Like, come on now. And then, but I've been very consistent since the true tournament starts, where yours has been like, I'm gonna give it this. I'm like, didn't you just give it that? Like,
Yeah, I just do it based on how I'm feeling that day.
well, either way, we are our final four: Indiana Jones, The Dark Knight, The Lord of the Rings, and the dark horse. John Wick has made it to the final four, baby.
Yep.
Just just to just to piss in Dylan's Cheerios. That's all it is.
It is what it
Now
is.
watch, John Wick's gonna take out Lord of the Rings. He's just gonna shoot and
Good luck.
he kneecaps the entire Fellowship of the Ring.
We'll see.
Oh god. To be fair, in a fight, if he can get through Gandalf, he's got a shot. Because he has more fast ranged weapons. So he's got to get through Gandalf and Legolas. If he can get through those two, he theoretically could win a fight against the Fellowship.
Yes. Yes.
But can he get through? Like, I think your first one is you just got to hope you can survive a Legolas shot as you take out Gandalf. Because if you can get through Gandalf, you have fighting chance. Then you take out Legolas. You got to hope you got enough speed to avoid the other ones. Because like the hobbits aren't going to be a battle. That's easy. Like the hobbits are
Oh,
fine.
Frodo throws on that ring. He's invisible.
I do like the idea of the Nazgul showing up and then John just Wick being like, well, you must be evil too. And popping all of them as well. But it's an interesting idea. That's all I'm saying. Absolutely adore that. But that is going to be the end of this episode of the Greatest Movie Franchise Tournament. Join us once again. If you like this video, give it a like and a comment, and then subscribe to the channel. And check us out both on those Davies Boys on YouTube and Spotify, as well as Really Snappy Gaming. And that is where we are live on Twitch right now at Really Snappy. So please join us wherever you can. Give us a like, comment, subscribe. Help us with the algorithm. Please, 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 please. We need the help. Beyond that, thank you guys so much. And we'll check you next time. Peace, love, and hugs. Goodbye.